Hey, Mike Brookfield here. What's going on? It was suggested that I do a video on my latest gear and stuff like that. But I thought it'd be interesting to do a studio tour. So I have this teaching studio where I live, and if you've been to me for lessons, you'll know this room. But a lot of you out there who maybe follow this channel will kind of like see things out the corner of their eye and be curious about the room and the space and the gear and stuff like that. So thought not a playing video this time, just a bit of a talky video and just talk you through all the stuff I have lying around and that. So I don't know how it's going to work. I'm just going to go around the room and talk through stuff. So I thought it'd be interesting to start with this thing here, which is the door. Now, when you come for a lesson, it's generally accepted that you lose 30% of your ability when you walk through that door. It's like a given. So it's always a bit of a running joke for us here with students and stuff, because they go, "I've been practicing this all week. I can't believe I can't play it. What's going on?" I said, well, as soon as you walk through that door, you're going to lose 30% of your ability. Anyway, so there you go. Leather guitar cases. What's your take on leather guitar cases? That's quite an expensive one, like the Harvest ones. Really good quality. The straps were a bit rubbish when I first got it, but they upgraded the straps. Crazy masks that sometimes I have been known to kind of wear on gigs for fun when I do like the rockabilly surf band gig. Generally leather cases, you're probably much better off with just a good quality kind of like Reunion Blues case, because they're so heavy. The leather, they look cool when you're walking around town and stuff, but they're heavy. You know what I mean? So my general take on leather cases is they look nice, but probably better if you just get like a good quality, Reunion Blues ones. I like them. I've got one over there. I'll show you in a minute. Okay, and then I built this a few years ago, because I thought, well, I'll do all my YouTube videos against this wall, and for some reason I just don't. I know I did a few, but I haven't really bothered that much. So this is the kind of vinyl wall, and who have we got here? We've got Eric. There's a lot of Eric up there, but hey, that's what we like around here. What a cool album that is. Robert Palmer, Sneaking Sally Through the Alley. Johnny Winter, Mike Stern, Rory. Who else have we got? Jeff. Rory. Elvis Costello, Santana, Los Lobos, Cream, Miles Davis, Joe Pass, ZZ Top, Grateful Dead, loads, Doyle, so I do rotate them, but I get a bit lazy as well. I don't always rotate them as much as I should. Bikes, I love bikes, used to race bikes, was big into time trialing and trying to be like the best I could be, and 60 kilos and looking like death, but probably being one of the healthiest and fittest people around. But anyway, I don't really race bikes, but I still train as if I'm racing, because I love riding my bikes. I was out for a couple of hours this morning, in fact. A couple of posters there. Microtonal guitar applications. That's my master's thesis, a little poster that I had to do for that. A couple of gig posters there. The big chairs. If you come for lessons here, then those chairs will be pretty familiar to you. The Whoppers, I bought them down in Kerry maybe 10, 15 years ago. And I think we had a couple of drinks, and then we went into this shop, and then we bought them, and then they were going to deliver them, and it was going to take like 6 weeks to deliver them. And all the time I was going, what did I do? I bought these mad chairs after a couple of pints in the afternoon. And they arrived, and they turned out great. Anyway, the killer chairs. There's a lamp there because I was just, I needed a bit of extra light because I was recording some internet videos for private students and that. Paul Kossoff, one of my heroes, and bit naughty because like he's giving it the old, the rock and roll peace sign, if you like. And, you know, it's there to remind people, no matter what I say, you can just go off and do your own thing. You don't have to listen to me. You know what I mean? I'm going to present things as I think they need to be presented to kind of help students and stuff. But, you know, you can actually just go your own way and just throw all caution to the wind and just practice and play whatever you want. It's good to kind of have a bit of a punk rock attitude, I think, to practicing and music, as well as respecting our heroes and studying them and all that kind of stuff. There's a few cassettes up there. That's actually a cassette for Backstreet Crawler, the Paul Kossoff album, and that's like a bootleg from Portsmouth. Yeah, the Guildhall or something in Portsmouth from 1973 that I used to listen to on my cassette Walkman, you know, many moons ago. What we've got down here, this is the amp that students use. It's a Blues Cube, stage, tuner, cable. Actually, brilliant amps. I've used them quite a lot on gigs. That's my master's certificate, first class from Trinity, of course. Massive music stand, orchestral conductor stand, piano, it's not on. Hand sanitizer, incredibly important. Even though I'm not teaching at the moment, you might have guessed, that's why I'm putting up YouTube content. So what else have we got here going around the window? Okay, we've got the Small Faces, Stevie Marriott. You know, I still quite like to keep fit. So there's a, you know, one of those medicine ball kind of things there, and kettlebells and books everywhere. And there's the old Les Paul, 1958 reissue. That's the one you see on all of those Blues Breaker videos that I did. Love that guitar. What a great guitar. I was just doing a bit of practice on it myself there. And if we come around now, there's my kind of little studio where I kind of write and prepare things, do emails, blah, blah, blah. Maybe, you know, demo up tunes and stuff like that. So it's amazing. You don't really need that much equipment these days, do you, to kind of record pretty decent demos and recordings. I don't do a lot of recording here as in album stuff. I have recorded a lot of guitar here for different people and myself, but I generally go into the studio and record in serious projects. But I do, you know, there's enough technology there where I can do pretty good demos and stuff. I'm recording for people if they send me tracks. Telecaster. It's a weird one, that though. This is a Mayones Flame from, I don't know, maybe early 2000s, I think. And it's not an expensive guitar. They're kind of like made in Poland. This was originally white. I got it painted, but then it started to flake off. So I got a hand sander and I sanded the top off and then kept the paint job, which is really cool. The paint job is really cool. It's like condensation running down a window and all blue and water and you know, all of that kind of. Some people might remember that, me doing that a few years ago. And then obviously my logo there and the but I actually love that guitar. It's so easy to play. And they a few years ago, well, like, you know, early 2000s, they made Telecasters and Strats and I think Les Pauls or something, this company, Mayones, but I don't think it worked out for them. They didn't last very long, but they are brilliant guitars. I think I picked that up for, I don't know, they're about 500 quid or something like that. You're not expensive. This is all from the National Gallery in Ireland, because, you know, I'm based in Ireland. I'm not from Ireland, I'm from Liverpool. I'm an honorary Irishman, as they say. This is my teacher's diploma. It's good to have those things around. Okay, yeah, oh look, the Strat. This is the one I was using the other day on that, this is 1950s reissue Strat, and I used it on that Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out. This is kind of like my brownie, if you like. I've obviously owned a lot of vintage guitars, you might notice from the older videos. Like I had a 1963 Strat for a few years, but the frets were so worn on it, and the laminate rosewood neck, it was like Brazilian rosewood neck, had gone so thin that it wouldn't take another refret, so I had to kind of move it on. It stopped it got to the end of its playing life, and was kind of just going into collector's territory. You couldn't gig it, you know, anymore. So there was a lot of money tied up in it, so it didn't make much sense to hold on to it. Lots of tab books up there that I've collected over the years. I used to do a lot of touring, and I used to kind of go around, you know, the way Joe Bonamassa would buy really expensive guitars. I used to kind of just buy, you know, tab books, much more affordable for your average musician. And I've ended up with that kind of nice collection. So even though I do work a lot of stuff out by ear, it is kind of handy when someone comes in and they say, can I learn this Eagles solo or AC/DC or something? I can just pull it off the shelf and we can get straight into it. There's my Marshalls there. This is the 1974X and the extension cab. So I use that really for blues gigs. So, and I try not to use a pedal board when I'm using that. Maybe I'll take an extra plexi pedal with me to if I can't turn it up enough, you know what I mean. I might take this one here, which, if you can see that, that's a Keeley DDR. That's what I use when I'm teaching, and I'm actually using that on my internet videos at the moment. It's a really kind of handy pedal because I use this PV Colossal down here, if you can see that, when I'm teaching, and that's a great little 5-watt amp, and but there's no reverb on it, and sometimes you need a little bit of it in the room, and then that DDR Keeley pedal has an overdrive on it, which is quite nice as well. So you can see here, there's kind of, that's just a dumping ground for bits and bobs. There's a Vertex modded kind of volume pedal there. There's a few pedals down here. I'll try and I tried to set out for you. There's a Jimi Hendrix wah that I got only recently secondhand, actually. There you can see is the amp. That's the PV Mini Colossal. It's only 5 watts, but it's got a great sound out of it. I don't think they were massively popular. It's a kind of a Joe Satriani kind of thing, but it's like a modern Fender Champ, but it's got lots of cool bells and whistles about it, you know. And then this is kind of like one pedal board that I have set up. The old reliable Octafuzz. Love that plexi pedal. Atlantic chorus that I use for like a Leslie, a reverb pedal, and a tuner. But this is actually my main gigging board at the moment, which is, I'm trying to get it in camera, which is not so easy. And it's like a wah. This is like a Keeley tone station, Empress delay, Carl Martin tremolo, and TC Electronic, and it's powered by gig rig stuff there. There's a couple of extra pedals here. A Voodoo Lab Micro Vibe, and that's the Keeley plexi pedal that I use that on all of the Blues Breakers tuition videos, you know, and I still use that a lot. It's a really good, it's a really great plexi pedal, but I think it's one of the earlier ones. For some reason, it's just a, you know, it's an old box, you know what I mean? So I bought it quite cheap. This is my 60s original reissue. So like before there you saw I've got a 50s reissue. I only got that in December. And this is a 60s reissue. I got that about a year ago or something. But I really like them, and they've replaced the vintage Strat really well. You know, the fact that the vintage Strat had issues because, you know, massive amounts of money tied up in it. And when you're touring and playing around, it's a bit of a liability having that thing on your back when you're walking through a town at 2 o'clock in the morning looking for a hotel or something, you know. So it's you know, like these things, they're, you know, they're well under $2,000, and it better, really, you know, probably not the most coolest, hippest things to say, but they function better and there's less problems with them, you know. So yeah, so I love the Marshalls. This is a very recent kind of purchase. This is a Vox AC30 head and cab. I got them kind of like separately off the internet from Reverb. I think I got that from Italy, and that came from the UK, you know. And I love playing that at home because you can actually play that at 1/3 of a watt. So it's actually a really great home amp, which you know, so it's, but I don't use it at home. I'd save the valves up for using them on gigs and stuff like that. And then you can see my, geez, it's getting hard to get down here on the floor. I'm going to get down on the floor. Ah, that's easier. This is my George Harrison Duo Jet. And yeah, it's kind of my main gigging guitar actually at the moment, because okay, there's not a massive amount of gigs on at the moment because we've got this virus thing to kind of deal with, but function gigs and kind of like session gigs and just kind of making money gigs, I'm using the Gretsch a lot. When I'm playing on my own stuff, I'm either using the Les Paul or the Strats, you know. But you know, it's got my logo on. This is the George Harrison one. It's got these cool Dynasonic pickups on it. Yeah, I really like that. And then you'll see behind me here, I have the Bass Breaker 45 and cab, and that's got the covers on it because that's basically what I gig. I'll be using that pedal board I just showed you there with the Keeley tone station on it and the Empress delay and the Carl Martin tremolo with that, and that's it, you know. It's just got loads of good clean headroom on it, but I can actually set it a little bit crunchy if I'm doing a slightly rockier gig. But yeah, the Fender Bass Breaker 45 and 2x12 cab, and there you'll see there's a Reunion Blues double gig bag. So when I do a gig, I take a Gretsch and a Strat, or a Gretsch and that Telecaster. So I've got a spare if I break a string on the Gretsch. Sometimes I take two Gretches, because you might see I actually have two Duo Jets. This isn't a George Harrison, this is a standard model, 2128 is it? Yeah, Duo Jet anyway. So it's still got the Dynasonics, it's still got the same bridge on it. So they're very, very kind of similar. There's a slight difference in sound and playability. This one's better for slightly jazzier gigs. The other one's slightly better for more kind of rock and roll gigs. There's one guitar here that I haven't talked about. This is the old Julie Potter painted Strat you might recognize from, that was on the original cover of the Love Breaks the Fall. That's a parts caster basically. And I bought most of the parts off Walmart, and it's a really great guitar. It's got noiseless pickups in it. So like the Fender 50s reissue and the Fender 60s reissue, they have the vintage style pickups in it. So they, you know, you've got the 60 cycle home kind of going on there. But if I'm on a kind of session where I need to be quiet, I don't want to be the guy on stage who's kind of going, nah, you know, and it's kind of maybe a pop kind of style gig, I might take that guitar because it's got the noiseless pickups, and you know, you're not creating any kind of problems for anyone. So CDs, anybody still listen to those? There's actually, I've got two Bass Breaker heads. What a greedy man I am. Two Duo Jets, two Bass Breaker heads. But I mean, this is everything. This is everything I own after being a professional guitar player. I'm 47 at the weekend on Saturday. So like, you know, I've been a guitar player ever since I left school. So what's that? That's 30 years, you know. So not that much gear, I suppose, compared to some. And then this very modest acoustic. I do have another acoustic. I have like a Django style acoustic, but it's in a case at the moment. And this is what I use mainly for kind of sessions and acoustic work. And it's just a Yamaha, what's the model again? LL6T. Very, you know, basic acoustic, but it just works and sounds great. It works. If it works, don't fix it, or whatever they say. So I think we've done pretty much full circle there. You see more books, tools, printers, birthday cards, more CDs, back to the door of doom, where you lose your 30% where you walk through the door. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little tour. It was a little bit of fun anyway, and maybe it'll kind of start a talking point. If you want to know about maybe a few of the things in a little bit more detail, I could probably do a video on just one of the guitars if there's interest, or one of the pedals or something if you have a particular interest in it. But anyway, keep it burning out there, and yeah, be safe, and I'll speak to you soon.